We're going to talk about tips for thriving in the new normal. What do we need to know moving forward? And so here's the thing that I want you guys to take away from this is communication is critical. Here's what your employees see when they go online. In 2005, when I did some research, there were 2.5 million hits on when I Googled salary surveys. This year it's 8.7 million hits. What does that tell you? This is not going to go away. This is not going to go away. It's gone up that much in 4 years. So we really need to be paying attention. And our employees are getting information about pay. But they may not be getting the information about pay from us. That's the problem. That is the problem. I want them to get the information from me because I want them to see my numbers. I want them to understand it the way we understand it in our organization. So it's not going to go away. On the pay openness continuum, we have a huge disparity. Those of you who are in public sector, you can look online and see what my brother who works at, the King County, I can find out how much he makes. I mean, you can look and literally see everybody's actual salary online because that is the level of transparency that is required for public sector. That's kind of a crazy amount of transparency, and it sometimes creates a lot of dysfunction. On the other end of the spectrum, there are 3 individuals in the organization who know how much anybody else makes. 3. The CEO, the CFO, and the HR person who has to also run payroll because nobody else can know what anybody makes. None of the managers, supposedly, none of the managers know what any of their direct reports make. The point here is there's a wide range of different pay transparencies, of pay transparency. In general, a little bit more transparency is probably useful, certainly about why and how and the ranges and some of that kind of stuff. I don't think that pay transparency all the way to you make $12.62 and you just got a raise 3 months ago is really useful and helpful information to most people. We have to kind of decide where do we want to fall on that continuum. What makes sense for our organization? Knowing that 8.7 million hits when we go to the internet and look at salary surveys. Knowing that it's increased from 2.5 million to 8.7 million in 4 years, are we willing to continue doing the black box thing that some of us have done? Maybe not. Another really important thing to help sell this to the executives, because the executives are freaked, right? They don't want, oh my God, I've made a bad pay decision. I don't want anybody to know. The owners want all the employees to make the exact same amount of money, even though none of them are doing the same work. We just want to pay everybody the same, and that way everybody's going to be happy. It's not the employees who have the concern. They know they're all making different amounts. They get it. They're big kids. It's the executives and the management team usually that we get the most stumbling blocks from. So how can we help them through this? Well, one of the ways we can help them through this is to show them data that supports moving in a different direction, and here it is. Pay transparency significantly increases employee satisfaction with pay, with incentives, with career development. Any amount of communication significantly increases satisfaction. So we can pay the same amount of money and have happier employees just by giving them more information about how they're being paid. This seems like a really simple solution. This seems like a complete no-brainer. And yet it's so scary for our managers and our executives to start opening the kimono, I like to say. You don't have to do it all at once. You can enter, you can do it slowly. The world has definitely changed. That's the other key point to use with your execs. A lot of them came up through management 20 years ago, not used to this internet thing. Share with them the statistics. Another thing that I see that alarms me sometimes about pay plans out there is that some of us still have handbooks that say that employees are not allowed to talk about pay. That is illegal. The National Labor Relations Board requires us to allow employees who are non-supervisory staff to discuss pay amongst themselves because it is a potential reason for them to unionize. So again, If you have that policy in your handbook, and I see it all the time, it's time to pull it out. There's been a lot of recent rulings about that. There's been a lot of kerfluffling. I call it kerfluffling. There's been a lot of talk about that in the last 18 to 24 months, so be aware of that. These examples that I'm going to show you are intended to be communication with executives. Because a lot of us do communicate with employees, but most of us don't do a very good job of communicating with executives about what's going on. This particular organization had an ever-increasing number of fabulous performers. The exceptional group kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the average group got smaller. So we went in and we started measuring, and we started doing training, and we started helping them to better target and calibrate the way that they're evaluating people. And you can see that over the next 3 years, those numbers started to shift back to where they were previously. We took the data from their peak, and then it started to shift back down after we were able to calibrate the performance evaluation process a little bit better. This again just speaks volumes to your execs. They can look at that, and they're really good with this. They're really good with numbers. Most of your execs are really good with numbers. They can just look at it and they can go, what the heck, what are we doing here? That doesn't seem right. And they'll start interpreting what that data means and how they want to change policies as a result of it. Again, you can have a lot of power with data. A lot of power. Here's another example of, again, shining a light on what's already going on in your organization. So in-seat promotion is what I call where somebody, I was an administrative assistant, now I'm a senior administrative assistant, now I'm an expert senior administrative assistant, and now I'm like a administrative assistant 4, whatever. So again, highlight which departments are creating the most promotional increases, and then it's up to the group to say, well, are we cool with 10% of Department 1 getting a promotional increase every year? I mean, was this okay with us? Is that going to be the way it is every year? Maybe it is. Maybe it's a start-out department and we do a lot of feeder groups up to other departments. That might be exactly what we want to do. Or it might be, wow, you know what, that's not how we want to be spending our time and energy. The information is very powerful. So think about, if you don't already have a good communication plan to your executive team, think about how to craft one that allows you to share some of that information and allows them to make better decisions, more informed decisions. When you do your communication, make sure that you communicate fully and completely. Don't leave important critical information out that is going to cause problems.